another episode of Open Spaces with Siera Vernice. And y'all, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I still be wanting to say self-express for love kills because it's been 2.5 to 3 years of me saying that, and now that I have to say I do names, kind of like I'm not used to it. But we are back with another episode. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little burnt out. Not burnt out, I'm not gonna say I'm burnt out, but I am tired of talking and holding this mic. Uh this is now like my second or third episode I've recorded today. So bear with me. I'm gonna try to get through this, make sure y'all get the information, and let's just have the conversation because, of course, Open Spaces with Siera Vernice is a space where we create that authenticity, we create that space for growth, we create that space for healing. And I know many of us need to heal. So let's get right into it. I really wanted to talk about this for a very long time because I don't think people realize what it means to do the work. And the season theme for season 6 of this podcast was to do the work. And I feel like I briefly talked about it in the very first episode of the season. If you are new to the podcast, make sure y'all go back and listen. There are some episodes even from the very beginning in 2022 where some stuff I was saying was some real stuff. And not only did I evolve and the podcast evolve, but also some of the things I said back then still apply today. So if you can, it's a lot of seasons. I know we're at season 6. We're almost about to be done season 6. So there is a lot of episodes. I think we are now officially past the 100 episodes. I'm pretty sure we're past the 100 episodes at this point. I don't know off the top of my head, but there's a lot. But, don't worry, don't fret. They're always going to be there. But I always encourage my new listeners, if you've been here for maybe like a week or two or a month, or this is your first episode of listening, to go back and listen to some of the things that we talked about before, especially episodes with me and Kenya, because it was a lot of dialogue. It was a lot of deep conversations, openness. It was 2020, 2022, 2023 was a great year of the podcast. But Kenya has gone on to do other great things, and I love her dearly. But y'all stuck with me, okay? Y'all stuck with me. But no, we actually do have more guests coming on. I am super excited about that. I have to play around with the actual interviewing process of the podcast, like the video, the audio. Like I'm used to just the in person, but there's a lot of people from other parts of the world that want to get on the podcast. So bear with me. I will have some other voices other than mine on the podcast, and I'll be trying to get my friends to come on, but they know they be doing too much. But we gonna get them on there, y'all. Let's get into this episode because y'all know me. I will sit here and talk about a bunch of nothing, but I also can get on here and talk about a little bit too much. So let's get into the truth of self-work episode. And y'all, one thing about it, it's not always pretty. Self-work is not always pretty, and it's not always sunshine, butterflies, and birds chirping, and flowers, and going to go get your nails done, and getting your hair done, and self-care, self-love, new me, all of those things, all of the cliche things that people say when it comes to self-love and self-work. Not to say that all of it isn't true, but some things are a little bit more important and a little bit more deeper. So we're going to get into that today. A quick recap, because I know y'all haven't heard my voice since the beginning of the year. And then I also did get some feedback from Kenya, and she told me that you guys really couldn't hear me that well in the audio, but I really think it was the mic, and it was just me moving too much with my hand. So as y'all can see, if you are watching the video, I have the mic in my hand because at this point, that's the only way I'm gonna not talk and move with my hands. I can't help it, y'all. So this is kind of stabilizing my hands and my body. Although I may still move, y'all may still hear some feedback, but I'm gonna try to edit it as best as I can on the audio, because I don't want y'all to hear a bunch of freaking me hitting the bottom of the mic and noise throughout the whole thing. I want y'all to hear the message. So that is that. What else has been happening? I told y'all I started school, or that I was going to start school. So yes, I have been in school. What is this, like week 3 now? I'm about to go into 1 week we had off because it was Martin Luther King Day, but y'all, school, whew, Lord. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Some classes that I have, they're interesting. Some classes are like, oh my gosh, hurry up and get me through this semester because I actually can't take it. And it's really just the math class that's like that because I can't stand math. But I do have a psychology class, so of course you know I'm a geek about the science of psychology. So I will have a lot of more information about the brain, the body, the behaviors. My overall degree that I am going for is behavioral health and human services. It's the field that I am currently in, and it's the field that I love because I love to analyze your brains and see why y'all operate the way you operate. Because why are you like this? Why am I like this? Why am I like this? Because I have my stuff too. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We all have flaws. What they say, players fuck up too. Sorry, excuse my language, but I'm just saying, right? But no, that is the degree I am studying. I am going right now to a community college, so I'm just doing my 2 years, and then I'm going to actually go to an accelerated program, probably most likely online, because I ain't gonna lie, to commuting y'all for the next 2 years it's gonna do something to me. But you know, I'm fighting through it. I'm staying consistent. I'm staying focused on a goal, and I'm making sure that I'm showing up. But yes, I am going to try for my 3rd year of college to go and shoot for my bachelor's. The overall goal is to get my master's and open up my own practice, y'all, because not only have I been talking on this podcast for what I honestly think I started the podcast in 2021. So it's 2025. So the end of this year, because I started at the end of 2021. It'll be what 4 years at the end of 2025. But my ultimate goal was to always become a therapist. I always wanted to be a family and marriage therapist with my own practice. So in the state of Pennsylvania, and I'm pretty sure it's in a lot of different states, the lowest level that you can have to be a clinicianal therapist is a master's. You can technically go for a doctorate and work for other practices, but I'm gonna let y'all know right now it's looking very masters. And that's it, okay? Maybe I'll go back to for my doctorate. I'm not 100% sure, but for right now we're only focusing on getting done these next 2 years because whew, the first 3 weeks is stressing me out. I'm not gonna lie, it's stressing me out, okay? So your school has been interesting. It has been fun, although it got a little bit stressful the first 2 weeks with everything that's been going on in my life. If y'all missed the things that have happened in my life, I'm not going to go super deep into detail because I want to get into the episode. But make sure y'all subscribe to my YouTube channel if y'all have not. I believe my ad name is Siera Vernice. My original Siera Vernice was taken, but all of my social media links are always in the description box below of the audio version of the podcast. And if you obviously are watching it on YouTube, then make sure y'all subscribe. That's all y'all gotta do. Because y'all see me right then and there. But yeah, I talk about the trials and tribulations that I went through a week or two ago while school started. It was crazy chaotic, but right now we are back to being centered. We are recording, we are giving the messages. But yeah, it was pretty rough the last 2 weeks, but I'm getting back to regular scheduled programs. I've incorporated some things. Y'all, I have a new challenge that I wanted to do for the women. Men are allowed to actually partake in the challenge, but um I wanted to do it for the women in particular because I'm a woman and I know what it's like to not really indulge in some self-love. So the challenge is a 14-day self-love challenge. I did it in honor of Valentine's Day because y'all know I ain't got no Valentine. I do have a Valentine actually. My Valentine is my little sister. We agreed to be each other's Valentine, and I'm going to gift her something really cute, and I'm gonna see what she get me. But I don't have like a significant other, so I was like, you know what? Let me actually create a little Valentine's Sega series or something. And, me being the marketing strategist that I am at heart, I was creative enough to draft 14 days full of actionable self love practices that you can start to incorporate into your life. right now. So right now, as I'm recording this, it is day 2. So we are literally at the start of it. By the time y'all hear this episode, it'll be day 3, because you guys actually get this episode tomorrow. But you can follow me on all the social media platforms. I'm doing it on every single platform. So you don't have to follow on every single one. Just choose one that you're going to follow, which is Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, and YouTube. Um, so yeah, if you want to join in, join in. It's literally just doing the practices that I give you guys, and at the end of the 14 days, which will be February 14th, you guys will have 14 self-love practices that you can use throughout the rest of the year. Like, and obviously you may not be able to get to do one every single day because life be life in, but even if you could start to incorporate and implement one once per week or 3 per month, like whatever it is, that's the ultimate goal, is for y'all to have practices that you can actually incorporate into your life that pours into your self-love tank, because some of us don't really know what that looks like. Some people will say, oh, I love myself, or oh yeah, I practice self-love, and then I ask them, I'll be like, well, what do you do? And they be like, oh, you know. And I just be like, no, I don't. Tell me, actually. So yeah, if you are a person who struggles with actually knowing what to do to pour into your self-love tank, join the self-love challenge, 14 days. And at the end of the 14 days, on February 20th, we are going to be in a group call. So I will host a group call. It is $14 to join in honor of Valentine's Day. And I'm basically going to go over the different techniques and the different aspects of self-love, self-work. And at the end of the call, you guys will have a blueprint of how to take your self-love with you throughout the rest of the year, the rest of your life. So I think it's pretty cool. I came up with the whole idea, got some content ideas behind it, broke it down into those practices. So I hope that everybody that joins definitely gets something out of it. And if you are interested, again, like I said, just follow the challenge through my social media. And then if, of course, you want to join the class, the link will be throughout my social media platforms leading up to February 20th. So yeah, that's pretty much what's happening, y'all. I don't want to take up too much time of talking about what's happening with me. I want to get right into the self-work, okay? So the truth of self-work. So self-work alone is literally what it says, doing the work for yourself. I feel like, and this is just my opinion, again, people can have their own different perspectives, people can think their own different things, but for me, when it comes to self-work, I always imagine self-work to be like, it's cold in here, that's why I got this blanket on if y'all watching the audio or watching the video. The one thing that I can say about self-work is it is something that is very needed, and I feel like we often get away from it because of the things and the people that we encounter throughout life. So if we take it back to when we were little tiny human beings, right? We didn't really have to do the self work because we were at the beginning stages of life, right? We really just did the things that our parents told us to do, our aunties, our uncles, whoever raised you, right? We kind of were just put in a place where we were told to do the things that we needed to do. But then when we got to, like, what they call it, like our, is that technically like our adolescence? I think that's our adolescent years. So when we are in our teenager years and making our way into becoming an adult, that's when we start to kind of get our own sense of self. But this is often the time when we allow other people around us, whether it's our friends, whether it's our family, whether it's relationships that we engage in romantically, they start to shape our lives for us. And if you are a person who isn't straight off the bat aware as soon as you become a teenager, if you weren't raised in that way or had a role model that taught you the proper ways to be, you were probably 9 times out of 10 like me, like misguided, didn't care what your mom said, didn't care what your dad said, didn't listen to your sisters, like none of that. Like you wanted to make the decisions yourself and still messed up. But hey, it's life. That's what we go through. That's what happens. So, what I want y'all to realize when it comes to self work, I want y'all to understand that it's the opportunity and it's the time for you to start doing the work for yourself, within yourself. and really shaping who you want to be as an adult. And obviously, as you get older and older, you're going to have to go through different phases regardless. Like for me, people can say, oh, you're healed from your past self, you're healed from your childhood trauma. Um, but there's going to be other phases. Like right now, I'm a single woman that's 28. If I was to get in a relationship within the next year or two and have to go through that, like I'm going to have to adapt and change to that as well. Because being single for a year now was a lot of adaptation, right? I had to change who I was. I had to do the work. The work, y'all, never stops. Okay? As long as you have self, it's never going to stop. You're always going to have to do the work. It may look different in different seasons and different phases, but you are going to always have to do the work. So I want y'all to recognize that self work does not stop. It does not stop. And the truth about it, y'all. So we have a lot to dive into, okay? Okay, we have a lot to dive into when it comes to self work, but I wanted to really start off to let y'all know that self work is literally what it says, but it's definitely deeper than just the getting your nails done, getting your hair done, relaxing, taking a vacation. All of those things are very much a part of it, but a lot of the self work is internal work. Unlearning those behaviors that you learned in your childhood. And a lot of times we didn't even know that we were learning certain behaviors. We were just doing what our parents told us to do. We were paying attention. You know how they say kids are like a sponge, like you literally just soak up. Like when you're a kid, I think they say like from the age of 2, I don't know the end age, but for me personally, I feel like my age was really from like 2 to like 11. From that point, I was soaking up a lot of the behaviors, not even knowing, not even being aware, because of course I'm a kid. I don't know what none of this shit means. But as I got older and I started to pay attention to the ways that I start operating after seeing my mom go through what she went through relationships, and it took me probably not even honestly maybe a year to actually recognize and realize that every type of, I can't say every, the relationship that I see my mom go through with my dad growing up, I thought that that was okay. I thought that was normal. And I didn't say it out loud, but in a sense, as I got older, and like I said a year ago, I actually became aware and I reflected and I was like, why did I stay in the relationships that I was in? Mind you, I was only in 2 real relationships. And I don't even count the first one as a real one because I was a pup. But that was my kid's father. And I stayed so long because I thought that's what we were supposed to do, right? Not knowing, of course, as a kid, that that's what I'm taking in. But again, soaking up that sponge and seeing my mom be married to my dad and never leaving him despite of all the shit that I seen, all the shit that I heard. I thought that, and most women do that. They think that they have to stay because you have a kid together. They think that, oh, well, we're married, so we have to work this out. I'm sorry. That's not the truth. If it's not for you, if it's not what's best for you, if you're not growing with your partner separately and together, run. Run. I think we always have that, oh, I'm supposed to be like my parents. And even people who have grown up and seen their parents and are still married, we have that. It's kind of like we idolize our parents, right? Now that's not my story, but this could be somebody's story who may felt like they had the perfect childhood and they don't have any childhood trauma. You may be holding on to this idea of getting married by the time you're 25 because your parents got married when they were 25 and they had all the kids and they're still together, but you don't know the depths of their relationship. Not saying that it's all bad, because some people actually get through relationships and they work through it and they have a strong foundation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be your life. Just because your parents thrived and strived and fought through their relationship, or even if it's been hell the whole entire 20 years of their relationships, that doesn't mean that that has to be your life. And it took me a very long time to realize that the story that I grew up in, right, my story, the way that I grew up, that doesn't define who I am today. So once I really put that in perspective and I thought like, just because my mom went through this and, I did the same thing, even today, my mom's life today, I don't have to make that my life. There's one thing my mom used to always say that I never paid attention to, but I heard her, was that she never wanted me to be like her. She always wanted me to be better than her. And that is literally what every parent should want for the kid. And if you don't have any kids right now, that's fine. But if you ever decide to have a kid, remember, have those conversations with your kid when they get old enough to tell them, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be better than me. I don't want you to look at the things that you see that I go through and think that this is what you have to go through. If you have questions, ask questions. If you have feelings, concerns, let me know what it is, right? I do not want my kid to go through half the stuff that I went through. Now, granted, is it going to happen? Some stuff may happen, and there's some things that we really can't stop. But me and my son, at least in our relationship, we have that open dialogue. We have that open conversation. Like, I tell him, I'm 28, you're 11. We are literally growing up with each other, okay? We are growing together, but he understands that I don't have it all together. I know I may look like the superwoman with the cape on and I'm here to save the day because I'm your mom, but baby, I ain't got it all way together all the time, okay? And some things I am still learning just as you are learning. So the self-work, like I said, it never stops, but it also it's very rewarding because especially when I can say about me and my son, we we have the type of relationship where he sees that I want to take a break sometimes. He sees that, I need a moment. He sees when I went through the troubles and the challenges. He sees all those things, but he also gets to see and pick up on the resilience. So it's like, imagine him being the age that he is now, and 10 years from now, when he is almost my age, he can say, I seen the things that my mom went through, and she taught me to really do the work when I was 11, when I was 10, when I was able to understand. It's even to this day, I'll tell him to do stuff and I'll explain to him reasons why, because I'm really not a yeller. Like, I'm not going to yell, because that was another thing that I thought I had to do. I had to punish my child. I had to make my child feel like little, like I had to belittle them, belittle him to, get my point across. Like, the things that I went through does not have to happen to my son. He does not have to endure that. He does not have to do that. So I know with him watching and observing me now and seeing the things that I go through and seeing how I react to it and I respond, I know that when he gets my age, that he'll already be prepared. Because not only does he see me doing the self work, but he's also seeing that I'm trying to instill to start doing that self work now. Like school, y'all. Ugh, he hates the fact that like he has to go to school. He's like, I don't understand this. Like, why do I have to go? And now that I'm in school, we basically have conversations about like, listen, I don't want to go to school either. I don't want to get up. I don't want to have to. I literally tell him this every time. Like, if there's ever something that if there's ever something that he doesn't want to do, and I don't want to yell at him, I don't want to take it to the extent of, oh, da, 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 I'm tired, I go home, I do this, da, da, da. Like, whether you're a parent or your mom did it to you, that yelling don't mean nothing. And for me, at least as a kid, when my mom yelled at me and was complaining and bickering and, oh, I worked 8 hours and now I'm coming home, that shit didn't mean nothing to me as a kid. I literally was just like, she's bugging. Like, you're bugging. Like, I don't care. But now that I'm older, I completely understand why my mom was like that. But now that I understand, me being the mother, I'm not going to choose to make that the thing, like the theme of me and my son's relationship when I need him to do something. It's a whole different scope of things. Like, I'm saying the same thing, but we're having a more gentle conversation. So, for instance, because I've done the work and I want him to see that I am doing the work and I am trying to be more calm and I am trying not to yell and I'm trying not to be my mom but better. I tell him when there's something that I want done, I'll explain to him like, listen, I don't want to get up every morning and have to go into work and do this and do that and stand on my feet or have conversations or even sit here and record this podcast, right? I don't want to do it. But the house that you are in, the clothes that you have, the electronics you have, this is the result. So as much as you don't want to get up and go to school, baby, I understand. I didn't either. I hated going to school. And look at me now. I done signed up for school again. I don't want to do it. But if you want something for your life, if you want to make something out of yourself, this is unfortunately what you have to do. I don't agree with it either. And he be looking at me like, girl, what? And I feel like over the years he started to understand, because I've been saying this to him for years at this point, and he's only 11 now. So I want to say I probably started having this conversation with him when he was like maybe 7, 8. He was just like, I don't want to get up. Why do I have to get up and go to school? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? And I sit back and I explain to him rather than rah, 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 and I told you to do. Me as a kid, I was not receptive to none of that. All that hooting and hollering, I don't care what. Because in a way, like as a kid, and I can say this now because I'm older. As a kid, I think my thought process was really like, lady, I don't care what you're saying. Like, yeah, you're my mother, but I don't care. And I think that attitude is just because I honestly get it from her too. But I don't like being told what to do, which is why I became a business owner. One of the reasons, because I don't like being told what to do. I don't like getting direction and instructions. And right, I literally couldn't stand being a kid because I had to listen to my mom. But I was always that rebellious kid too. You know, they say the middle kid is always the rebellious. Even though when I was a kid, I was the youngest, which might have been another reason why I was rebellious, because I thought the world revolved around me. But I know for me and my son's relationship, I don't want to be having to hoot and holler. Now, don't get me wrong, he gets some hooting and hollering sometimes, but I also don't even like to respond like that because my body don't feel right after my energy is off. Like, I hate yelling, I hate screaming, I hate just that negative energy, that negative stigma around screaming, yelling, and trying to discipline your child. And I put air quotations in the air when I said discipline, because I feel like yelling and screaming is not disciplining your child. It's literally just making your throat hurt. But who am I? But yeah, for me, knowing that doing the self work within myself will also show my son that she is doing the work. Like, and granted, he may not say it now, like, oh, she's doing self work, she's doing it. But when he gets older, he's going to be able to recognize that, oh, my mom was in her late 20s. She was getting her life together. She was doing it, right? So that's what I want y'all to really focus on when it comes to self work, seeing the evolution of yourself. Because if I was to allow my previous stories, whether it's the story of me with my last relationship, or my last two relationships, or even the childhood trauma, I would not be sitting here talking to y'all. My son would not be as strong and resilient as he is, because he would constantly see his mother be in shambles, be stressed out. And I tell even my friends this, like, you don't ever want to put yourself in a situation or be stuck in a situation where not only are your kids seeing how you are accepting the life that you are accepting, but you're also taking yourself further and further away from self. You're identifying yourself based off of everybody else, how everybody else wants to see you, how everybody else thinks that you should be. And that's not what we do, right? In this life, you have your life, you have one life, this is it. To sit here and constantly live for somebody else is crazy. So I want y'all to recognize what self work is, what it means to do the work for yourself, and the impact that it has on the people around you. Because honestly, I feel like ever since I've done the self work, the people that don't belong in my life are not here. I don't have to worry. I don't have to stress. I don't have to um, be crying. I don't have to be upset. Like, I am happy. Now, granted, yes, I have days where I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like it, or, I'm just having a down day. But I don't have anybody actually causing my story to be my story because of them. Like, my story is my story because I choose to do the work. I choose to be happy. So yeah. Now, some of the truths about self work that I will tell y'all, and this is my main one, it gets lonely, okay? And I have to put this on the forefront for me, at least, because it does. Me being a single mother, me really like, I can sit here on this podcast and talk to y'all for 4 hours and nobody's gonna call my phone. Maybe my son, maybe my mom, but like it it gets lonely. It gets wild. But I will say, I don't be upset at it only because I know that in this moment, in this space in my life, that God really put me in a space to be alone, so that I can actually sit with myself and reflect and analyze the way that my life is going. Because in previous and past relationships, my self was always buried under a box, buried under a rock, because I always gave to the other person that was in my life. I gave to my friends, right? Now that I'm able to be alone, although it gets lonely, now that I am able to be alone, I am able to have that time to process my thoughts. I have that time to process my feelings. I have that time to talk to y'all for hours and hours and hours, right? No, but I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. So, although, yes, it does get lonely because you will lose some people that aren't meant for you. And that's a hard one for a lot of people. I even had this conversation before, of really letting God do the best things that He can do in your life, but it does get scary to even want to accept that and to fall into that, because you're going to start losing some people. Y'all, I talked about this before on the podcast. I ain't have boundaries to save my life, okay? And that is why I constantly was in shambles and in chaos and in stress. Not because I didn't implement those boundaries alone, but because I kept blocking my blessings from what God wanted from me, because I didn't want to let go of those people who I never wanted to let go of. And this is not to shame anybody, but I just want to kind of give y'all some insight and example on this. If I was to be with my ex today, I wouldn't be where I am today. No shade, no tea, no. I'm just telling y'all the God's honest truth. I know that if I was stuck in that space that I was stuck in between 22, 23, I wouldn't be here today. I probably wouldn't have been back in school. I probably would. I don't know what my living situation would be, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, but I wouldn't even be happy. And this is not to say that it was all because of him, because I definitely played a part in that relationship as well. But I don't see myself being in the light in the space that I am today if I was still in that relationship. Now, granted, things could have gotten better, but at the rate that things were going at the end of the relationship, I don't think so. I think I would be stressed about the same things year after year. I think I would be having the same conversations. I don't think that it would have gotten any better, and not just because of him, but because of me too. I didn't see the other side of it. I didn't see the now, right? Whether we were together or not, I didn't see the now. I only seen the past. I only focused on the things that I did wrong, the things that we did wrong, the things that he did wrong, right? So when it comes to being in that self work, we got to be honest, and sometimes it gets lonely. It gets lonely, okay? Another truth about self work that people think that it's just sunshine and birds chirping. What are some other truths about the self work? Um, hmm, I would say the one truth about self worth is that you can't really lie to yourself, because because you are so aware and you're so responsible, and you're cutting the people off, you're having the boundaries, you are lonely from time to time. You kind of can't do the things that you know you have no business doing. So when you want to call up that situationship, that sneaky link, or double back to your ex, whatever, or even backslide to cheating, because y'all get down how y'all get down. We listen and we don't judge, though, okay? But we are really aware when it comes to doing the self work. So the truth about the self work is that sometimes you're a little too aware. And in that point, obviously it's a good part, but you choose not to make those bad decisions. You choose not to double back. You choose not to go peep on your person that you used to, play with from time to time. and snoop on they social media or unblock their number. It can get messy if we allow it, but because we are so aware, we don't. And you kind of tell yourself, like, you know what, this not worth it. Like, and that's one of the things that I always tell myself, like, there are so many people who like slide back in my DMs and pop back into my life, and it's just like, what am I going to get out of this? What is actually going to, and this is legit what I tell myself. Anytime that I have a thought, because I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't have the thoughts to want to double back, what would be different if I allowed my ex situationship, my sneaky link back into my life today? What would I really get out of this? What would be different? And I have that dialogue and I have that conversation with myself, and then I laugh and I just be like, girl, please. Because nothing, it's going to be putting yourself back in the constant rabbit hole that you literally dug yourself out of. So sometimes that will awareness be awareing too much. No, but seriously, that's one of the truths that I can say. um that awareness part is definitely brutal, brutal, but it's necessary. Another thing that I could say about self-worth that is very, very true, and it's honestly near and dear to my heart, is to accept what it is and let it go. um People don't want to accept the truth, and I feel like this is something that really hinders people from growing. And not just people that's my age, or people that's older. People don't want to accept that the life that they are currently living, or that they used to live, is what it is, and they won't let it go. They will either halfway accept it or deny it and not move on. But the truth is, you have to legit accept your life for what it is, decide that you want better, and let that old version of yourself go. Let it go, because it ain't serving you. It ain't been serving you. You stuck in the same relationship and it ain't getting you nowhere. You stuck at the same job and you hate your life and it's miserable, yet you don't want to leave because it's financially safe. You are friends with that same person who you constantly talk trash about. They constantly talk trash about you. Y'all in disputes and fights all the time, and you're only still friends because, oh, we've been friends for 20 years, so I can't let let it go. Accept it for what it is and let it go. It's over, okay? The longer that we hold on to things that are not for us, the longer it takes for God to bless you with what actually will help you and do you good. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying. A fine quote that I live by. If you constantly decide to really just stay in that mess, stay in that messiness, you'll never see greatness. You will never, okay? Um, so yeah, honestly, I feel like people don't realize that self-work is real. Doing the work is real. Doing the work is what grows you. If you ever a person who's like, I want to grow, I feel like, I'm just stuck. I feel like I'm living the same life over and over again. I feel like I'm constantly, what they say, I'm dealing with the same person, but just a different body. That is because you won't let go of your old self. You won't do the work to be better. You won't do the work to grow. You have to decide for yourself that you want better. And if you don't decide, then guess what? The things that you are doing, the people that you have in your life that are hindering you and keeping you stuck and keeping you in that chaos, are going to keep thriving. And the same time that they're thriving, you'll be losing. That's the truth. Look, mic drop. I ain't gonna drop the mic on y'all. I ain't gonna drop the mic on y'all. But no, that's like real talk. Like, I don't think people realize that the more that you allow that negative part of you to continue to flourish and grow, it's like, okay, so let me put it in this perspective, and I'm gonna start to end the episode real soon because I don't want this to be super long. The one thing that I think people don't realize about your life is you have this life, and your life is kind of like a pot of soil, right? Y'all know I like real life examples. It's like a pot of soil where you're the plant and you're supposed to grow. If you don't water that plant, what happens? It doesn't grow. So if you're constantly staying in just that pot as the soil and the seeds in there, Or maybe the seeds aren't in there because you aren't planting any seeds, right? You're just living that same old mediocre average life. But the moment that you decide, you know what, I want to grow. I don't want to just be this pot of dirt. I actually want to have leaves and sprouts and eventually a flower, right? I want to blossom. If you don't plant that seed, or if somebody doesn't plant that seed in you, because sometimes we can't pull ourselves out the dirt, maybe I am encouraging you right now to plant that seed within yourself so that you can grow. But I always tell people, you have to want it for yourself. Don't do it for anybody else. Do it for yourself. So if you are that pot of soil, that pot of dirt, and the seed is now planted in you, and you decide that you want to constantly do the work so that you can grow and blossom into a beautiful flower, then that's exactly what you have to do. You cannot expect your life to be any different if you aren't going to water that soil, if you aren't going to plant that seed. You have to decide to want to be better. And if you don't decide to want to keep watering yourself or keep being better, then you're going to be stuck being that pot of dirt. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, you know? Yeah, this is deep, y'all. I didn't want to get this deep. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't. And I know we kind of like talked about a bunch of different things when it comes to self-work, and just really growing, but that's what we're doing here in Open Spaces with Siera Vernice. We are making sure that we are creating the space for openness, for healing, for being real with ourselves, because y'all know I don't sugarcoat nothing. And one of my biggest things when it comes to life itself is to be transparent, to be authentic. So I want y'all to take this message and to take this episode as much as you need it, and whatever it does for you, let it do it for you. Before I get to the last part, I want to again announce that I am hosting a 14-day self-love challenge. It is the self-love challenge where we are embracing self-love just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. If we haven't been doing it at all, now's the time to start. 14 days of self-love practices that I will be providing. Today, as I am recording this, is day 2, but as you will see it will be day 3. I want y'all to really hone in on that self-love. I want you to start watering that pot, right? I want you to blossom from being out of that soil and be that beautiful flower. But the only way that you do that is if you pour into yourself, you pour into that pot of soil and plant that seed so that you can continuously grow, right? 14 days. At the end of the 14 days, on February 20th, we will have a group call that is $14 for you to join. And at the end of the call, you will have your own self-love blueprint that is customized specifically for you. We have an exercise that I super excited. I cannot wait. It's something that I came up with, and I really want you guys to start implementing these self-love practices in your life every single day if possible. Even if it's something so simple and something small. Like me, my first one that I do every morning, not a doubt, is my morning routine. If I don't have my morning routine, I'm not myself. I'm not gonna lie. And I've been doing it for maybe a couple of weeks now. But it's been helping me. It's literally that moment that I have to myself. And I used to like cringe when people said like, oh, wake up at 5 a.m. and do your morning routine. And I'm like, my morning routine is staying asleep until the last minute, until I realized staying asleep to the last minute was crazy, because I literally don't have no time to like think. I'm constantly getting up and rushing and getting my son ready, and then I'm yelling at him because it's like, I woke up late and now you're gonna make me late, when in actuality waking up at 6 a.m. has literally allowed me to have an hour and a half to myself before I even have to be a mother. So yeah. We're going to incorporate them self-love practices, and whichever one resonates with you the most, implement that within your life all the time. So make sure y'all join the challenge. Y'all can follow the challenge through all my social media platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, at Siera Vernice. So yeah, let's get back to the episode. The myths about self-work. What are some of the myths about self-work? I feel like I already said this, but one myth that I hear a lot about self-work is that once you're done the work, from one time, it's done. Like, you're done. You're healed. Oh, you don't have to do it anymore. That shit is not true. Self work, and I did say this in the beginning, self work is not a one time thing, it's not a one size fit all either for people. Um, you're going to go through different phases in your life. Like I used as an example for my own life right now, the self work that I've done, I've been able to heal parts of my childhood. I've been able to heal from my previous toxic relationships and become a better person and become a better lover. I'm working on a little bit more things relationship wise, but I also kind of feel like I have to be tested and triggered in a new relationship. But y'all know we're not gonna get into my dating life right now. We're not. No, we are not. But yeah, you go through different phases in your life. You go through different seasons. So doing that self work is always going to be a constant evolving. I use the example of me being in my next relationship. I'm going to have to do some self work before I get in it, which is things that I need to be working on now. But even while I'm in the midst of that new relationship, my partner could have done the work and is ready for a woman who has done the work. And I could say, oh, I've been doing the work, but there are some things that I still need work on. And he could accept me and say, you know what, well, I'm going to be by your side and I'm going to make sure that we do the work together. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Listen, I'm manifesting at this point. I am manifesting. Okay, listen, y'all, in 6 months, I'm going to have a man. Say, no, but seriously, that man could want to decide to take things further and be like, okay, I understand you did some of the work and there may be some things you have to do, but I'm going to walk alongside you to do it. That right there, at that moment, I have to agree to still do the work. If my partner is deciding that he wants to lock in and do this thing for real, and even though I may not be fully healed from my previous relationships and some behaviors and reactions may pop up, he's going to be there, right? He's going to calm me down. He's going to know when my triggers are triggering, right? And in that moment, I know that I'm going to have to do more work. So if you think that the self work stops after a couple of months, or you've been single for a year, or you're in a new position, or you finally let that one friendship go that was hindering you, and now you're in new friendships, things from your past are going to pop up. They're always going to happen. You're always going to be triggered, but it's about how you respond. So don't think just because you got out of one phase that the next one is all peaches and cream and everything is all good in the hood and you don't have to worry about anything. It's a lie. It's a lie. You're always going to have to do the work. You're constantly going to evolve in this life. If you do not evolve, then guess what, baby? You're going to be stuck in the same old cycle. And if that's what you choose to do, then kudos to you. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast though, because I tell the truth too much. I sting people's heart a little too much for you to want to listen all the way through at this point, if you don't want to do the work. So I think that's a huge myth. I don't know that I can think of any other myths about doing the work. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I probably could find some more, but I feel like oh, I have a good one. So one myth that I feel like people um express and say about doing the work is that you have to be single. You have to be alone. You have to seclude yourself. You can actually be in a relationship and do the work. If you have a partner that is willing to help you grow and grow within themselves, you don't have to be single. You can be in a very committed and binded relationship. Even like now, people say, oh, well, Siera, you've been out of a relationship for a year and you've been doing the work ever since. I was doing the work the whole time I was in the relationship because I knew that Buki, this wasn't this wasn't about to be my angle. So I started to do the work towards the end of that relationship because I knew that I wanted more for myself. Doesn't necessarily mean I couldn't continue to do it in that relationship. I could. I just didn't have a partner that was willing to grow. But if you have a partner that's willing to grow with you, then you can do it. You don't have to be single. And another misconception I feel like is that you have to heal you have to heal completely before you're in your next relationship. That's not true either. Like I said, in my manifestation of my man, that man can want to do the work with you. Although you may still get triggered and you may still, pop off. he definitely gonna check you if he a man. You know, little boys get mad and catch attitudes with you, but we're not talking about them. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it, y'all. I really wanted to put this episode together so that we understand that self work is a constant thing. We're constantly evolving. We are consistently doing the work. And sometimes it gets hard. We have to be a little too aware and too truthful and too honest. We have to make the better decisions. And sometimes doing the work is very tiring. That's another truth. It's tiring to make good decisions. And I know it sounds crazy, but it is very tiring to be doing the work all the time. Sometimes I have to tell myself, like, day in, day out, you're doing the work, you're evolving, you're expanding your mind, you're expanding your body, you're expanding your spirit, you're expanding yourself emotionally, right? Every single day. Sometimes I have to tell myself, like, okay, not that it's too much, but let me just be, right? Let me just be a person. Like, let me pig out and eat nasty food and watch TV and watch stuff that I'm probably really not supposed to be watching. Sometimes it's okay. Now, you got to know how to wrap it back, like really back in. Like, we're not going to do this all the time. But I will say that is another truth that I just thought about with self work, that it is tiring sometimes because it's like you're always working towards being better. And of course, that's the goal. But give yourself some grace sometimes. Give yourself a break because a lot of the times you don't have to always do the work. Do the work. Make sure every part of your day is doing the work because you'll be done fell out. I'll be having to tell myself that. But that's why you implement those self care and those self love practices, because it's actually going to allow you, it's going to help you understand that you are doing the work, but let's take a break from being so aware. Um, so, yeah, I hope that y'all have enjoyed this episode. It was a lengthy one. I was trying not to have it super long, but I feel like we digest a lot of stuff. I did get out of order, and I feel like at this point I'm about to just stop writing outlines to my podcast and just sit on the couch and talk to y'all, because I always want to be a teacher, but I also always get off track and go into what's on my heart more than anything. And I feel like everything that I said, God wanted me to let y'all know and tell y'all. And again, whoever it resonates with, it resonates. If it doesn't, shoo fly, bye bye. I'm okay with that. But again, make sure y'all join in on that self-love challenge, 14 days. If you are not following the podcast show on the audio platforms, whether you are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, we are on all the podcast platforms. So if you are not following the show, follow now. And for my people who would love to watch the visuals, make sure y'all subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have been posting YouTube shorts. I have been posting videos. I haven't gone live yet, but I want to start incorporating going live on YouTube. I'm kind of low key drifting away from Instagram because I feel like my Instagram people are my Instagram people that have been following me for years, and it's just like y'all just be watching it, y'all don't be engaging enough, and it's like I still love y'all, but YouTube people, they give me life. So I don't know, I might start doing more shenanigans on YouTube. I do a lot of behind the scenes of stuff on my Instagram, but show love and support me through all the sites, through all the platforms. I really love y'all, especially my day ones that's been listening for years. I appreciate y'all. I actually want to do something for y'all. I don't know if I'll do like a little soiree or if I want to have like a little happy hour pop out. I want to do something. I really want to start building this community a little bit more, other than just me talking to y'all. I would love to have y'all come sit on the couch with me or hang out or do something, right? And if y'all feel like y'all been listening for a long time and y'all really want to like get to know me in person, let me know, because maybe I might do me a little tour. Listen, I don't care if it's 5 people in a room. I don't care if it's 10. I don't care if it's 100. I don't care if it's 100,000. I want to love on y'all, and I want y'all to be able to real life experience me. And this is not to toot my own horn, but we can get into some stuff. We can have a good time. So yeah, I'm looking to really expand the podcast in 2025. I've implemented new segments, which you guys will learn something about this week. I ain't gonna give y'all no information on that. Y'all just gonna see. But yeah, I definitely want our podcast family to be a bit more involved. And I've been saying this for years. And I know it could just be like, oh, she talks and I listen, but we definitely could crank this up a little bit more. So I'm gonna be doing some things over throughout this week to get some podcast guests on here, get some audio clips or video clips out on YouTube, because I really wanted to make this podcast thing a part of my dream, which it is. I've always wanted to be on the TEDx talk, but I can definitely have my own network one day. So y'all, we got to get into it. Make sure y'all leave us a rating and review. Remember, without your rating and reviews, people that need to listen to this podcast, people that need to be a part of the tribe, the community, they will not find me unless y'all give me the rating and reviews. Share it to your friends, share it to your mother, your brother, your sister, your cousin. I don't care who you share it to, but share it to someone so that they can get to know Open Spaces with Siera Vernice. And again, like I said, we used to be self-expressed with Love Kills, and I keep wanting to start the episode saying it, but it's a new year and we doing new things. So make sure y'all share this out. I love y'all. I love y'all. I love y'all. I cannot wait to get into this year and to get deeper. And I hope that y'all stay around because some great things are happening. So I'll talk to y'all the next time you hear my voice. Bye.